Okay. The turn-based battle system. It's a thing. Battle system uses many different parts. The first part is, if we look out here, this giant area, but actually maybe this area. Let me click it and see. Nope, that's just nav mesh. Come on, click. I can't click things today. Let's see, click. There you go. All right, so the first part of the like the battle system in general is the area triggers, and what this will do is it will define a general area in your map. And I use this also in the map, in like if you play the demo and things like that, you'll see the name of the area and the region defined in there. What this battle arena transfer does is gives you a general configuration for a certain zone in your map. So you can specify, when you enter this area, this is the current mood. This would be the battle theme for when you were in this area, and these are the ambient sound effects that happens when you enter this area. On top of that, what it will specify is the level stream that's connected to the area space. So if for some reason you move into an area via loading map, it's going to look at this battle transfer area to know what level stream needs to be linked to this area. It can also uses that this object within the battle to know what level stream that you're coming from, to make sure it puts you back in the same level stream or what level stream it needs to hide when it loads the actual battle area. So right here we have the battle area to load, which is over here currently. So if I turn this off, this level stream is gone. As soon as you execute a battle, it's going to look at this your current transfer area that you're currently in to see what zone you're in and load the appropriate battle area for that. You can also have here a list of areas you want to hide when you go into battle. So if for some reason you don't want any of this to unload, you can just leave it blank and it'll leave all this here but still load your battle area. For the battle area, we have PC spawn locations. For if you're starting a normal battle, if you're starting an ambushed battle, that would be the place where you ambush the enemy, or if you are ambushed, where you want the players to start at the point of being ambushed. These are located within the battle area over here. And you just have to make sure that, just like all the other points, that these are flattened to the ground, so that way it can do its proper checks when it does stuff for loading the character into the proper area. Otherwise, if you have this under it, your enemies or characters will probably fall under the map, which is not what you want. Let me go back to the area, the transfer area. So you have a set of locations for the PCs and the enemies based on, being ambushed or not, to give a specific field advantage, or you can simulate the enemy surrounding the party or something like that if you're ambushed, whatever have you. You can change this to be however you want it to be. You can also give multiple spawn locations for any of these states. So if you want a specific character to be in a specific position based on the battle conditions, you can set that up through this way, same way. Which leads us to our turn-based manager. So in the previous video, when we were going through the AI states, well, the behavior trees or charts or whatever, I said that when an enemy crashes into another one, it does checks and then spawns this object. This object's main goal is to try to control the entire battle in general. It will control where people get placed, what enemies gets placed, how many. It will keep track of, the intro transition to the battle. It will keep track of what enemies you have available, what if it should end the battle or not, based on everyone dying or everyone being all the enemies being dead. I cannot talk today, but in general, we come in, we get the battle handles, which in general and everywhere I go in the system, when I have load handles, is usually getting HUD information, is getting links to different things, getting the RPG states. We get the current host, so what object started this this whole battle transition for the character, like whoever you're controlling. We get the main HUD, and I guess I just didn't need this anymore. And then what we do is respawn a return node. This return node is used to know where the player came from, so that way it can put the player back exactly where they were at their current rotation once this battle is over. We're going to set the character in a flying state, because at that same moment we're going to unload that entire level they're from. So we want to make sure that we retain where the player is, and we are going to capture all the enemies around the player based on a certain distance. And what we're going to do is get those enemies as the spawner objects for the battle enemies in this level. Well, in the battle area. We start the battle music and we start the fade in. We just also switch the interface to the battle screen, so that way the HUD knows what to load next for the battle screen. And if we are in a preemptive or ambush state, we're going to show that message here and load that state. Normally I use Chameleon to be able to do a battle fade and a distortion of the screen, kind of like the classic RPGs did when you get in a battle. Here I pretty much have that disabled, and right now I just wait a given amount of time before I allow the transition of the battle to start. If you for some reason have your own kind of transition state into a battle, you can do that here. If you notice, when I was in the, which one of these functions? I think it was get handles. Yes. This is where I would usually get Chameleon, the Chameleon plugin in my area, in the map, to be able to control the VFX on screen when I'm doing my transition into battle. So after your transition effects are done, we pretty much reinitialize the time dilation, because as soon as you execute a battle, I set the time dilation down to 1, so everything slows down, and it allows me to fade out the screen and do whatever I need to do. But once we're in here, we set that back to its normal setting, and then we have the player possess this actual turn-based object. And in this case, unlike the action battle, the player will stay attached to this turn-based system, since all the other actors are just AI-driven nodes that you issue commands to via the interface screen. So right here, we will load the level stream information, and depending on the information in this, based on the information here, we will either load or hide the other level streams that we do and don't want to show up. And then we go to the next state. Here we will disable all the world mobs. We will gather the battle spawn spots, spawn locations, and then place the enemies into their given area. Now the enemies that we captured for this battle are no longer needed. So we make sure that their actors based in back in the world are completely destroyed and removed from play in general. Even if these monsters are part of a spawn spear, what we do is we call a kill function on it. So that way, if it's registered to a battle spear that spawns it out every 30 seconds or whatever, or 2 minutes for a respawn rate, it will tell the spawner object that, hey, I'm being destroyed now. Please respawn me in the proper amount of time. Any of the effects that I had for the chameleon or whatever you want to put in here can be reset here. And then we set up the perspective camera to make sure that it's attached behind the base character that you have as your party leader in the battle area. From here, everything should be ready to start the battle. So we turn off the ambush message, and then we enable all the battle entities to be able to we turn on all the battle entities to be able to get them to start the behavior tree, to start for them to enroll themselves into the action battle bar, so that way when their time is up, they can start their attack onto the enemies or vice versa. And from there, we're just pretty much checking to see if the party is alive. If not, it's game over. Because even if the enemies are alive, but all the party members are dead, that takes precedence over the enemies being alive. And then we go to the game over screen after we stop all the battle actors. If all the enemies are alive, then we're just going to use this trackball object to move the camera around that you have control of, to track whatever the current point of interest is. So if you are in the hero tracking mode in the battle system, you're going to be tracking whoever you have actively selected as the idle party member while you're all waiting to get ready for battle. Once you're in the main menu, the camera's going to snap to whoever you're currently controlling in that actual menu. If you're going through a party select for, a healing spell or using an item, it's going to automatically snap the camera to look at whoever you're about to assign an item to or give an item to or heal in general. If you're selecting an enemy type, then it's going to snap the camera to whoever the current enemy type is in your HUD. But if all the enemies are dead, we come through here. We stop all the battle actors. We set the camera to be in front of the current person that we're, the last active player. So whoever should have done the last hit on the enemy, that's who we're going to set. That's who we're going to put the camera in front of. And then we're going to, play the victory music or the victory dialogue for that person, and then start the the end bonus rack for the actual, the end of battle rack for that given battle session. So anytime that a enemy dies or anything like that, it sends all this information up to the turn-based system, because it keeps track of how much EXP has been dropped, what items were actually dropped by the enemy when they get destroyed, and all of that. And it keeps track of that inside of this actual object. So that way, at the end of battle, it can issue out all the awards that it wants to give to the player, based on all the little requirements. And then we enter the victory pose for all the enemies. For all the heroes. And then we play the victory fanfare for the music. After that is done, then we pretty much wait for the rack to finish, or we wait for the player to input a skip for the rack. So if you want to skip the racking based on our input, since we are in possession of this object, when we say, hey, skip this, if we are in the state that we need to be able to skip the rack, we can do that. The rack will finish automatically, and then we can wait for the actual acceptance of the tally to be able to end the actual battle itself. And once that's done, and everything is done, and we do our level up checks to, play all the little fanfares for leveling up, we can apply our winnings, and we can fade out the screen, swap all the levels back out, clean up the battle arena, and then send our character back into the game select mode. That should be it for the most part. I can show you since it's still battle related, field. So outside of manually placing enemies on the ground, where, in this case, I have these manual enemies set up. This is their sensing pond that they automatically have on them. You can change their pathing to be follow path. And all of these here are following path AIs, of which you just tell them, hey, I want you to follow these paths in a looping nature. So it'll go from one to another in this looping fashion in general. Based on, whatever waypoints that you have here marked. And they all are set up that way. The other way that you can do is you can have enemies that are just naturally spawned in an area. And any monster that comes from a monster spear will automatically be in a wandering state. So that means they'll just roam the area for whatever desired range. In here, you can load what monsters you want to show up from this battle spear. You can set what you want the filter to be for the levels, so that way when you reload this, it'll only show you monsters within that level. You can set how many monsters you want to spawn from the spear. I just had it set to any random number between 3 and 5. And you can set a spawn area so that they will spawn within this green area of this spear. What respawn time you want them to have, default to the 5 minutes. And then if you want to force their level of the monsters that come out of the spear, you can set that here. If you set it to 0 and 0, whatever level they are configured in the database is what level they are spawned as. And that's about it for those objects. I guess I'll continue in the next video. Thank you.